what's just come to mind, because I mentioned about the public.
Yeah.
And I've had many conversations on here about welfare of horses and the way the public view it.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not equestrian related.
Yeah.
Have you got any thoughts on that? Because it's a big thing out there at the moment.
Big controversial thing. Yeah. So for me, I feel like our equestrian platforms are slightly going against us equestrians to please the uneducated.
Mm-hmm.
And by uneducated, I mean the public that don't understand the sport, that don't understand competition horses. For example, there's a new rule come in about noseband tightness. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not an advocate for anything that is too tight. It doesn't really affect me because my horses don't have tight nosebands.
Yes.
But for me, this rule just doesn't just apply to dressage. It applies to all three phases of an FEI event. So your cross country and your dressage. Now, you have got athletes at their absolute peak fitness, some of which love their jobs a little bit too much and become quite a handful to deal with. I know of a rider who uses a grackle noseband with a Waterford snaffle, so a kind bit. But this horse is quite strong, and she uses the noseband as her control.
Okay.
Now this rule has come in. What does she do?
It's a very good point.
It almost becomes a safety issue for us riders. We are working with something with its own mind. It's strong. It's powerful. There is an element of we have got to have some control. And that doesn't mean that we're being horrible. It doesn't mean that we're, being nasty, but we have got to be able to keep a little bit of control.
Yes.
And I just feel like instead of just saying, well, you can't use this and you can't use that and this is banned and that is banned, actually, we should be educating the public as to why we have to do this, why we have to do that. The blood rule. No one likes to see blood on a horse. But little things like I think someone was eliminated last year because a horsefly, it was a grey horse, I think, horsefly had bitten the horse. There was blood on its shoulder, let's say. Instantly eliminated.
Right.
Horse bites its tongue in a dressage test. We've all bitten our tongues. Just because you've bitten your tongue, does that not mean you can carry on with your day?
Absolutely.
I feel like if blood is spotted on a horse, it should be allowed to continue its test. Then it's taken to the ground jury. The ground jury assess, now, is this actually a welfare issue? Or is this something really simple? And let's say a horse has bitten its tongue and it's minute. Why can't we take a video of that and put that out there and say, look, this is what's happened. Yes, there is blood, but actually this horse is fine. This horse can compete tomorrow.
Yes.
The same with an overreach. A horse can overreach in the field.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that it's lame and its leg's going to fall off and it can't continue. I just feel like instead of, because to the public, blood eliminated.
Yes.
Well, that looks bad.
Yes.
Because why is there blood? Why have they been eliminated because of blood? Whereas actually, we should be using our social media platforms, FEI, BE, BD, BS, to actually go, okay, well, there is blood on this horse, but this horse is actually fine. It's not a welfare issue.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are cases where it is a welfare issue, and that's fine. That needs to then be taken control of and dealt with appropriately.
Yes.
But there are so many issues where actually someone's unfairly eliminated. You get a horse to 5-star and it bites its tongue in the dressage. And you think that all that work to get there because it's nipped its tongue in the dressage or because a fly's bitten it and they're instantly eliminated.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's got to be some change, and it can't just be blood eliminated, because to the public that doesn't look great. We've got to start explaining and educating people. I could cut myself right now, blood, but that doesn't mean that I've gone out of my way to injure myself.
No.
Do you see what I mean?
No. Or that someone else has
caused harm to you. Or that someone else has caused harm to me. Exactly. Yeah. We all do things that are silly and that hurt, but that doesn't mean we can't carry on with our day. And I just feel like we should be educating, and also as a sort of equestrian community, if I'm being really honest, I'm fed up with people pulling each other apart.
Oh my God, yeah.
I feel like we should be uniting and standing together and actually, you know, we all try and do our best. Well, the majority of us try and do our best by our horses.
Yes.
Sometimes our best isn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. But we all try and do our best. And actually, as an equestrian community, instead of heading to social media to pull someone apart because their horse has gone lame in a dressage test, like, we should be uniting and actually showing the public the love that we have for our horses, not putting it out there for someone else to pull apart.
Absolutely. Social media has become, there's a few particular channels which I won't mention, but they have got,
all guess.
but they have got so aggressive towards.
And what I don't understand about these channels is, so as of recent, a horse was eliminated at an international because it was lame.
Right.
Yes, the horse was lame. You could see in the video it was lame. You can't deny that.
Mm.
But the judges eliminated her. You know, she wasn't allowed to continue her test. They pulled her up. She was eliminated.
Yeah.
So then why do we then need to get hold of that video and put it all over Facebook and slate this and slate that when actually the judges have done the right thing?
Yes.
For the welfare of the horse. So why is that now an issue? Why does that need to be made public? And that's where I struggle, because I feel like as the equestrian community, actually the right thing's been done. So why does that now have to be put out there for someone else to pull apart?
Absolutely.